in the continent of Eberus. Let's see. The actual year is... no, that's not the right year. Sorry, I didn't update the year properly on my general information sheet. It's from an earlier one. Okay, so I'll tell you the year later. Oh, no, here we go. It's the year 1020 in, on, Alaris at the moment. Year 1020 on the Eberus calendar. This is not a calendar shared by Kolar. Kolar's calendar is somewhat more, it'd be later than this in Kolar. Probably more like, 1100 or something or another, instead of 1020. I'm not entirely sure what the Kolar calendar would be, since I mostly went by the Emlaran calendar when I was creating this world. But most of you guys are from Kolar, from there. And of course the Underdark would have another system as well, but for the purposes of this game, the year is 1020. Now, each of you comes from different backgrounds. Two of you actually know each other and happen to have been together when what happened to all of you has now happened. At some point during your travels, or during the wars, in the case with Duncan, you ended up the prisoners of Drow, and were dragged into the Underdark, or in the case of Kurt and Boris, dragged away from your prospecting point and tugged into areas unknown to you. Now, Kurt and Boris, since you're taken at the same time, only one of you needs to roll. Which one of you would like to make a roll?
Tobias, you can roll. You're my guy. It's your responsibility.
Okay, so Tobias, Tobias and everyone else, please roll me a 1d10. Duncan? He's on mute. Ah, there he is.
Sorry, my computer's been up.
Oh. That's okay, that happens.
I did change my key binding for me.
No need.
Alright. So, that means Duncan of the PCs, you have been here the longest. Kurt and Boris, you have been here the shortest. Now, I need to do a quick summary for a few other characters. Oh. They showed up recently, okay. Ah, okay. So, Rick, around the time that you were brought here, stripped of all of your armor and other worldly goods, basically left in your skivvies, or whatever, lighter clothes, like a tunic or something like that you had on, you happen to see a small goblin in a tattered pink dress, also dragged into these cells with you. She's been pretty quiet and has been hanging out near the side of things.
Huh. Okay.
But she's been here basically got dragged in around the same time as you, but from a different location. Like, basically two war bands shouted up together and, both issued you into the cells. But she's mostly been quiet and keeping to herself in the back. When you were brought in, you noticed there is also a small myconoid, or what you came to understand was a myconoid, kind of sitting in the middle of the place, is kind of shivering. You might have mistaken it for just a mushroom that was in place until it started moving around. This is probably not something you've ever seen before. Along with a what appears to be some kind of gnome with very weird looking skin. Another darker skinned gnome. A drow that was curled up in the corner. and what looks like some kind of fish person, who just is sitting with his legs crossed and a weird look on his face. And this is... Duncan, when you were brought in, what would you have talked to any of these people?
As I'm brought in, probably not.
Alright.
I'll probably just survey and keep an eye on them, see if any of them. Just try and get what I can from just looking at them.
Alright. So, only a day later, after your drow captors, like, you barely fed you, just some thin gruel and whatever the poor mushroom guy has been eating, and occasionally taking out some of the prisoners for work details, a dragonborn is dragged in, followed quickly by two other people that looked to be human. Let's see. So this dragonborn would be you. You're Drizzle. Sorry, I don't know your name quite yet.
Yggdrasil.
Yggdrasil.
For short. Then, while they're dragging me in, I'm kind of like shouting draconic obscenities at them.
And dragged in from another direction are what appears to be a bearded man, maybe no older than 19, and what appears to be a teenage girl, somewhere around 13 or so. Duncan, let's see. Roll an intelligence check for me, please, Duncan.
Alright. First, status check. Oh, done. Come on, computer. Intelligence check, was it?
Yes, an intelligence check. Hmm. All right. Yggdrasil, now that the cage door has been closed and you're surrounded by people you do not know and weird creatures, what do you do?
I kind of just like look around me. Are they all staring at me, or are they just like?
Like, some of them are looking up at you. The what appears to be a goblin in a pink dress is still curled in the corner. There's a mushroom actually the mushroom would be hanging out in the middle of the cell, not moving. There's a drow kind of slumped in a corner, and there's a weird fish dude that's just kind of staring into space. And behind you, two humans who are kind of brushing themselves off.
To the people that are staring at me, I kind of just like, what are you looking at?
The fishman continues to just stare blankly at you. The girl kind of like looks up. Are you speaking in Common or Draconic?
Common.
Kind of looks at you and just starts shaking her head, though she's behind you, so you might not see that, but Duncan probably would see.
Damn drow. Rip their heads off eventually. Just gonna find somewhere secluded and hop. What the hell's this damn mushroom doing on me?
The mushroom actually wiggles and moves out of your way a step as you get that close to it. The one guy over here, what looks to be a deep gnome, kind of like grins out at you and says, don't mind Stool there. He's no harm."
That's what they said the last time, and then I was dragged here.
Yeah, drow got you too. You're from the surface, right?
Of course. Saladin, to be exact.
Oh, no, you said you would be from Kolar.
Oh, sorry, Kolar. Whoops.
Yeah, Duncan's from Zaladin. You're from Kolar.
Line? No,
It's okay.
to be exact.
Not sure where that is. I'm guessing it's some surface world place. Well, maybe I'd see it someday, but I hear it's really bright up there.
How long have you been down here for?
Oh, I live down here, though if you're talking about in this cell, been been here a week or two, maybe? Something like that. I kind of lost track of time. Want to bet on how long it's going to take for them to finally get us going? They're supposed to be bringing us this place called, what was it called again? He kind of looks over towards the others. Yeah, where did they say they were bringing us? It was like the city, M something? He kind of ponders. City of Spiders, that's all I know for certain. Their capital. You hear that the human girl kind of groans and says, "Great, this can't get any worse." Duncan, you can definitely hear that she's speaking in the same accent as you, completely different from the Dragonborn's accent, who's clearly from way far away, but he's still speaking common tongue.
Huh. So from Deladin then, probably. Just.
Great. What do they want with us anyway?
Oh, well, the Deep Note continues to talk. They're just gonna sell us, or maybe kill us like that one guy over there. He kind of points towards the drow that's slumped in the corner. I know they're planning on sacrificing him to Loth, but, you didn't hear it from me.
To who?
Loth, the spider goddess, or whatever.
You speak so casually.
Yeah. What else are you gonna do? Go crazy? He grins widely at you. Lucy eventually comes over here.
Sacrificed by some small fries. That's not what type of dragonborn I was raised to be.
Kurt, he's talking to this guy over here. Sorry. I think I keep forgetting to put the pulse on. He kind of the deep gnomish guy kind of shakes his head. Well, no, I didn't say you were going to be sacrificed necessarily, although we could take a bet on that if you like. No, I said that guy over there, and he once again points at the drow over in the corner that's slumped down there. They're definitely sacrificing him a lot. He apparently killed somebody, and they just threw him in here with the rest of us.
Through in his own kind.
Yeah. This guy up here just seems to be kind of smiling serenely. Well, there's some kind of weird look in his eyes, and he keeps eyeing the goblin-looking person over here.
I don't intend to be here long. I'm getting out of here.
Sure, the deep gnome says again. Well, maybe we can all get out of here. How about we bet on that, huh? Huh? Got a wager?
I can't bet if I don't have anything.
Well, maybe we can find some. They do kind of bring us out in work details every once in a while. And then 4 days pass of these work details, occasionally being dragged out. I imagine the Dragonborn would probably get beaten once in a while by the drow, making him angry, no doubt, as he's taken on work details. And eventually, 2 dwarves are dragged in.
I'm not a dwarf.
Hey, what's the word?
These buffoons, they don't understand art. No, look at the shitty architecture. It's just abhorrent. I don't know how they can live like this. And look at these shitty bars. Come on, they're rusted. They are not really in any shape to be a comfortable jail. What are they doing, man?
Honest, I told you I don't understand smith work and such. That's why I'm down here looking for ore.
You're not a good dwarf.
Ah, that's what you're telling me.
Some of the other people look up and say, the guy over here who has eventually introduced himself as Jim Jar, looks around and says, "Ah, new friends, new companions. Welcome, welcome."
I'm not your friend, guy. No.
I don't think. I would say thank you for the welcome, but I would rather not be here.
Yeah, sure. None of us want to be here. The drow that are keeping us here.
You and the rest of us.
They took all my goddamn ore. God damn it.
Yeah. So I'm Jim Jar, and you are.
I'm Boris. This is my friend. What's your name again, Kurt?
This is my friend. What's your name? Hello? Excuse me?
Kurt Colby.
Wait, your name is Kurt Cole what?
Kurt Colby.
Cold beer.
Oh my
Boris
God.
will whisper. Boris will whisper. Don't try his food. It's not as good as he proclaims it to be.
It's very nutritious.
Anything would be better than this trash.
See, what do you mean? They provided us with both a mushroom and fish. Yeah. I point at the mushroom and the fish.
The mushroom actually backs up a bit. It moves, and the fish guy turns towards you and just kind of glances because you're pointing at him. It's unclear if he actually understands you, though.
Fish is very nutritious, especially when you're down here. You get some great omega-3.
Jim Jar just kind of stares and goes, "Well, if you say so, friend."
I'm not your friend, guy.
Then who are you? That's another response.
We are united now. So how did you get snagged in all of this?
Well, we got jumped. All of Boris' guards died.
Yeah. Apparently they weren't very good. Dwarves these days, they're degrading, man. They're not what they used to be.
So apparently the drow are only capable of fighting, jumping up on other people. They don't know how to fight one-on-one. Cowards.
At this point, the bearded guy over here says, "That's hardly the case. The drow have been waging war against us for years in the north."
What of north?
Up north in the kingdom of Zaladin, the drow have sent. Yes, the drow have sent armies against us for a long time now.
Out of character, I'm still technically trying to find the proper voice volume to voice this guy. So don't mind me if I happen to have some sort of preview-bested moments. Carry on.
Where is this Saladin?
It's the north, past the Kolar Mountains.
Past them to Kolar Mountains.
He nods.
And I'm from Kolar.
History check. Is that a history check?
I think you cut off there. Can you repeat yourself, please?
I want to see if Boris knows anything about this human settlement city. Kingdom.
If you're from Kolar, then no, you wouldn't know anything about what's going on past the Kolar Mountains.
I think Boris is from another place.
Boris is
that's right. Kurt is from there. Then Boris is from Boris, maybe. So yes, you can do a history check.
Probably not much.
Yeah, you kind of know that there's some country on the surface that's in this north place, although you actually don't know which way north is. That's called Zaladin, and another place in this south place, again, you don't know where south is, past the huge mountain range that you kind of know about, called Kolar. But it's not a city, it's whole countries.
Well,
So what do they make you guys do here? Because we're kind of need to get used to the new job.
Well, apparently they're too lazy to handle their own business, so they force us to do the same, do what they want.
I mean, I can see
Manual
why.
labor.
The weird looking deep gnome over here kind of chuckles and says, it's all just meaningless busy work they have us do. Nothing important. I mean, if you've ever been off curling their ropes like they make us do sometimes, then you realize that they uncurl them right away after we leave. It's all meaningless. They're just dealing with us the way they see fit. That's from this guy. Sorry, stupid thing. Stop it. From this guy up here. Yeah, Bapito. He's kind of occasionally spoken his name, Bapito.
Why is there a goblin here, though? That's strange. Hello, Miss Goblin?
The goblin kind of like pokes her head up and looks over at you. She's mostly been sat in the corner and not really looked or talked to much of anybody. She kind of eyes you with more like fear and concern instead of the way you might otherwise see a goblin. Roll a perception check for me. You've met other goblins in the past, and this one, while appearance-wise looks like a goblin, has none of the mannerisms or the way that a goblin might look at you sort of ways. This one looks at you more like what's the best way to put it?
Intelligent.
Intelligent, yes, but do you know how does your character have any children or nieces and nephews or anything like that?
Yeah, probably.
So, before the crazy "I'm going to kill everything around me" stage of a child, and more of the, innocent wonder of a child stage.
Okay.
But intelligent. So it's like
Strange.
yeah. So it's basically the kind of look that you would never expect to see on a goblin. And definitely for a goblin, this being is actually quite I guess cute would be the best description word, since it still seems like she still looks like she might be a child, or barely an adult in goblin years. She says hello. She speaks kind of like a accented common tongue. It seems like.
Weird. That's just his reaction, just weird.
She kind of bites her lip and wrings her hands together.
Forrest takes a step back at that. He's okay.
Yeah, Boris is kind of backing up into the cage door. Outside, one of the guards, which aren't drow, which are instead... Where's my monster list? There we go. Yeah, instead it's one of these things, kind of like that's a grin looking in at Boris, kind of gnashes its teeth together, raising its arms, and goes,
Yeah, Boris, I think
you...
lunch if you send to close for
And it's basically saying something to you in Undercommon. Do you speak Undercommon, since you're...
Forrest speaks Undercommon, partially because he is a Duragar sympathizer.
Yeah.
I speak Undercommon as well.
So, yeah, being a part of this, you recognize this being as a Quaggoth. And in Undercommon, it says, "Ooh, what a lovely looking dwarf we have in there. If you try to escape, little dwarf, I'll be picking my teeth with your bones."
I will kind of approach, get to where the dwarf is and be like, why?
I'm gonna walk up to Yggdrasil and go,
Did you just call him Bob? Is your name Bob?
The Quaggoth does not appear to understand common tongue.
Well, can you understand gestures? Because I'm flipping him off.
The Kargoth grins at you with big teeth, and basically looks back at the Boris and says, "Maybe I'll have the Dragonborn as an appetizer."
What did he say?
He's
You're a
no longer
glutton.
going to eat Boris.
Guys, watch out. This guy is a glutton. He can eat the whole Dragonborn and then still has room for a dwarf.
He's gonna have to try.
How about you give him a knuckle sandwich?
Gladly.
Oh, really?
I'm not afraid to fight anybody.
Uh,
That's one thing you'll know about me.
yeah. I kind of would like to have a weapon if you're gonna start doing something like that.
The gob
He
hello.
shows he pulls out his claws right in front of you and says, "These are the only weapons I need."
the goblin kind of like moves up behind, towards kind of in the middle of the cage, looking out, and basically is shivering from the sight of the Quaggoth. And it basically says, maybe we should just calm down here before the guard, the real guards, the drow, come back to punish us.
We
Yes,
want
that
them
is a good idea.
I want
Hey.
them to open the door. I want to get out of here. So.
If I only had
Don't
me,
we all?
if I only had me cooking utensils.
No.
I look at the mushroom.
Leave the
Oh,
mushroom
no.
alone.
Why?
Boris?
As you say this, you kind of get this prickling sensation in your head, and in fact, everybody is getting a slight prick of a sensation in their heads as you hear a voice saying, "No, don't eat me." In your heads, of course.
Why am I thinking about eating meat?
Am I the only one that heard that?
No.
What?
If
Boris
what I,
will-
Who said that? Or did I think that? What's going on up here?
I think it was the little one.
yeah, I'm
The
pretty
goblin?
sure
Look at the goblin.
No, the shroom.
the mushroom.
Mushroom.
Yeah.
Listen, I never heard of a shroom giving these kind of effects by proximity.
Are you the one from the Underdark or the one from the surface?
I work in the Underdark.
All right.
Guess I'm
Roll
maybe I'm
an
just-
intelligence check, or
Alright.
or what is it, like a nature, lore, history check sort of thing?
Yeah, nature.
Yeah, you weren't aware of that. Boris, on the other hand, do the same thing.
Come on, Boris.
Yes.
Yeah.
While Kurt might not have any idea about this, Boris, you look at this and go, "Oh yeah, this is something that a mycenoid can do. Mycenoids are kind of telepathic if they get enough spores into you."
Oh my goodness, I heard about these. These are very interesting creatures. Little fellow, if we were to get out of here, would you be interested in coming along with me for some research?
If you're willing to help me get back home, yes.
Sure. Where might that be? That's maybe.
I live in a big colony. I can lead you there once we get out. If you can get out of here, I can lead you to the Neverlight Grove. You kind of you get a picture in your mind of this drow over here in the corner, and says, "That one took me from my home." And then we both ended up here together.
Oh, did he now? And I will look very angrily at the door guard. No.
The drow. The drow actually looks up at this point and kind of blinks slowly and says, and kind of like says very accented comment, says, "I don't remember," and kind of grumbles it out. "I don't remember doing that. I don't remember killing that guy. I just don't remember." And he looks like he's about to have a nervous breakdown.
Aye, that be the shrooms.
Drown.
Oh my god.
I've changed my mind about eating you.
Fucking
Oh my.
so.
I'm gonna point at the fishman, but you. You're still not far from the frying pan.
The fishman, seemingly speaking in some kind of an undercommon, however, you are understanding him for some reason, says, "Oh, but I do not think that you would enjoy eating me, although I will not protest if you decide to eat me."
Handy.
Weird.
Jeez, okay.
He's willingly. What? All right.
I'll say name you emergency reserves.
Oh my god.
You're gonna call him Menchie? Name him.
Stop. No.
By the way,
Oh.
Boris, you're aware that this is actually an effect of the mycenoid. For as long as you have the mycenoid around, as long as it's still alive and actively giving out spores to the group of you, you should be able to understand each other.
Oh, I like him very much. So. Here, and I don't think you guys do either.
Boris, you're good with the metal and the will of the metal.
Yeah, sort of, yeah.
Do you think you can find a way?
I might be able to find a way.
I
I will.
You know the way.
Forrest, with his expertise in metalwork and craftsmanship, will go inspect the walls of the cage and the locks.
Most of the cage is actually set right into a solid rock wall. The cage doors itself are just a set of bars that you could find some time of getting around, except that currently there's at least one Quaggoth staring at you. There is a wall directly behind that Quaggoth, and passageways extending either to the basically to the right and left. You have no idea how many other guards or other prison cells there might be around here. So, for all you know, there could be that one guard, or there could be 50.
where the metal meets the stone, I check for weakness.
As you basically stare at it, you realize that if you have time to put enough pressure on it, that in a number of days you might be able to basically unmoor it. But it will take days, it'll take time, and it'll take secrecy.
Alright,
That's a failure waiting to happen.
it is. Now, we need to make sure we're prepared for when it happens. That's definitely a way.
Kurt is just going to pull on his mustache a little bit and put it in his mouth.
Hold on a second, I just noticed there was a message.
Second important.
Alright. Okay. So, as you guys are basically spending that time, coming up with a plan and occasionally being dragged off to do work things, you notice that 2 days later, another human is brought here. This time, a woman. She looks to be in her 20s or 30s. It's really hard to tell. She is quite beautiful, to the perspective of the majority of people who find human beings beautiful, or human women beautiful, with dark kind of nut brown skin and green eyes,
Run!
and kind of and lovely waves of kind of reddish hair that fall across her thing. She's kind of jumped down into the cell. She just kind of puts a hand to her head. Goes, "Oh, those drow," she says, sighing.
The poison?
She looks
On the head.
up. Yes, I've been definitely poisoned. Is there any water to drink?
You can suck on me boy bearded if you would like.
Oh no.
What is wrong with you?
What? Ik got nourishment.
Look, there's a lot wrong with him, but he's very good at his job. That's why I tolerate the weirdness. He's very good. Well, he's not.
I'm just gonna pry a little more piece of my beard and just see. There's still some soup here.
Yeah, when he's dead. We're gonna be fine.
So did any of you all come up with an idea on how to get out of here?
We have an idea of how to get out of the cell. The thing is, I would like to know where they're keeping our stuff and probably the way we need to go. It's gonna take.
Please call 911. Oh, I'm sorry.
Who's in trouble?
It's gonna take a few days before we get the bar ready to get out. So we should learn whatever we can in that time.
Perhaps when we're out doing work, when they look away, we can find something.
Exactly.
How long have you been down here? She asks, looking around.
A while.
On the dock a while here, about 2 days, 3 days? I mean, we, the fellow dwarves, I don't know.
I was just making a trip from my home in Ithan to Zaladin when I got attacked along the road. The rest of my party was killed. Yes, the other two humans over here kind of look up interested too. Hearing that, there was something I needed to discuss with the king of Zaladin, but this is not good. And the girl kind of mumbles, "The king, you say?" I roll perception checks. Let's see. Boris and Kurt are clearly seeing that there's some sort of communication with eyes going on between the two humans in the corner. Kay, you noticed this as well.
The woman looking at the other person.
Like basically these two in the corner are both looking at each other. The kid and the bearded guy are both kind of like talking with each other with their eyes. It looks like after hearing the red-haired woman mention that she needs to talk to the king of Zaladin.
Well, Boris is just gonna go,
Goes.
What are you thinking?
What do you mean about the escape plan? Or the weird human triangle? I'm not... Is Missy, if there is one here? I could talk my way in there, maybe.
Well, I had an idea. It might involve fighting tall, grey, and ugly out there.
Oh, that's always part of the plan. Don't worry about it.
I'm not sure if it's good to punch him in the face. He might not enjoy it.
The woman seems to be waving her hand at this point and frowning. It's like magic doesn't seem to be working in here.
Yeah.
Did you try to cast a spell on me?
No, I was trying to cast it on me. My head's hurting.
Yeah.
You're a spellcaster.
At this point, the weird guy over here, as he said, "Yeah, there's an anti-magic field around this cell."
Fancy.
So at this point, the drow actually looks over and says, looks at the woman and says, "You didn't happen to come in on some sort of resupply caravan, have you?" And she frowns and says, it didn't look like a supply caravan, just some kind of slave raiding party. And he goes back to, like, being slumped in the corner.
Alright. So that means we have more days, question mark?
I walk over to the...
The drow kind of looks up again and says, well, since I've been here for a while, I've actually been watching for things, and I've already noticed that the supply caravan is overdue by a few days.
Oh.
What's in the supply caravan?
Well, it'll resupply this outpost, but it might also be what brings us to GM cannot pronounce the word. Menzoberranzan.
Lands of Erosone.
I keep calling it City of Spiders because that's how I can find it. I cannot pronounce this drow word.
I imagine he would say that. City of Spiders.
Yeah. So he basically says that and says that, that he's been sitting here waiting for the resupply thing, thinking that that's when they're going to be bringing them out to the city, which will then mean his death because he's going to be executed/sacrificed at that point.
So what is a drow doing stuck in here?
Well, I've been accused of killing someone, but I can't remember a single damn thing about it.
Looks
That's
like
what
you
they
were
will-
set up.
Maybe. But yeah, I'm sure they're gonna sacrifice me as an example to others. He kind of puts his hand to his head. Ugh. I have a bad headache too.
Wait,
Well, if you want, you can join us on trying to get out of here.
I turn around and look at him. Are you a spellcaster too?
And he kind of frowns. Says, well, I am a drow. He acknowledges. But technically I'm a warrior, so...
Perhaps the anti-magic field is what causes these headaches.
No. I've actually had that before it happened here, and then Holly looks over at you and says, no, mine's, I imagine, from the drow poison. But, someone's clicking very close to the microphone.
I'm sorry.
It's okay.
So sorry.
So, what do the rest of you guys do at this point?
I'm still trying to contemplate on how we're gonna get out of here. So I'm waiting. I'm trying to figure out some distance.
Boris is gonna try to get in touch with one of the drow, insult their weapons, and then is gonna try to get himself as their new slave smith by saying, your weapons are so bad. I mean, if you compare them to mine, you'll see they're like goddamn fifth. Well, they look like they haven't been sharpened in like months.
I will insult the cooking.
Drow
Now,
things done
from
right, dwarves.
from your perspective, basically you guys have 2 more days before the actual start of the storyline, based on the rules that we've made. That this is basically all the pre-story, but we were hoping to have one, see if one of the other people who had originally signed up for the game shows up. We'll find out more tomorrow, and if not, we can always see if that other guy, the one that showed up in Discord, is still up for it. But basically, here's what you know at the moment, while you're imprisoned, and now that you've been talking and coming up with a plan. You know that the commander of this outpost is a drow priestess by the name of Ilvara Mizram. And she's occasionally shown up and whipped you with her scourge. She has a junior priestess under her command called Asha Vandry. Her Ilvara has a lover who happens to be basically the head of the head lieutenant here for the warriors, called Shore Vandry, But you've also taken notice of a drow. There's, in addition to like other drow warriors wandering around, you've also happened to notice a drow with a scarred face, whose name is Jorlan Duskrin. And over the last couple of days, while you guys have been planning these things out, you have learned that the maimed drow used to be Elvira's lover until he became maimed.
That's an abusive relationship if I ever did see one.
Yeah. So you guys have been observant. One or two of you have been observant enough, or at least have shared the information around enough of this guy seems like he is not happy with what's going on around him. That he is basically a disgruntled ex-lover. So that might be of something useful to you. By this point, 2 days later, after the last prisoner has been brought in, or at least the last prisoner of the NPCs has brought in, you've actually learned the names of each other. Starting at the top and going from left to right, we have Bupito, Jimjar, Duncan. This is a name you will know. Grizdrop. Kurt, Boris, Holly, Megan. The mushroom guy's name is Stool. Whatever name the Dragonborn guys decided to give you.
Yggdrasil.
Volt, Shushar, and finally Sereth the Drow.
So these are all the people that are going to be in the prison break?
And Kurt.
I did mention Kurt, didn't I?
Yeah, but I put him down there, so you have to mention him again.
Kurt Cobain. I mean Coldbeard.
Yeah, I could want to call him Cobain too.
Alright. He did that on purpose. You know what he was trying to do.
No, I didn't.
Lies.
But anyway, so that's the main information you guys have gathered. In addition, each of you has managed to possibly find something.
Yes!
You guys get to roll a 1d20. And add it to... And do you remember the amount of days I gave you?
Yeah.
It's 1d20 plus the amount of days that you've been here. Which is whatever numbers you guys rolled. So Boris and Kurt would be 4. Duncan, I believe that's 9. And Kay, I think that's 8.
But we were here,
22.
another 2 days until Holly arrived. Does that add up to it?
No, that was the day. That's what I was mentioning. It's now been 2 days since Holly arrived, so which is give the four full 4 days since Boris and Kurt have arrived. So
Doing good on these
So for
rolls.
me, it was 8 days.
yeah, I believe so. So that's actually 21 on yours.
On mine?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, so Kay, you got a 21. The only thing you've managed to whisk away and hide on yourself somewhere is a flawed carnelian gemstone worth about 10 gold.
Okay.
Boris and Kurt. Each of you have somehow managed to smuggle and hide a rusting bar of iron that can be used as weaponly as a club, or of course you can use it for some other purpose.
Hey, I got this for you. Oh.
Duncan, on the other hand,
got one.
Duncan, on the other hand, has managed to sharpen a piece of flint that could be used as a dagger.
Ooh.
What weapon could our things be used as? A club.
Club, yes. You have a rusted iron bar that, weapon-wise, can be used as a club.
I can work with this.
I can work with this dagger.
Club.
Well, it's sharp and flint, but dagger.
I misspelled club.
Wow.
Club.
We're hanging in the club, partying.
So-
Don't know what's up.
So yeah, this is unfortunately the gist of session 0, as it goes. And it'll be 2 weeks before, officially session 1, at which point we will either be straightened out with, with Ninja or have another player secured by then.
Okay.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
so that would be, let's see, which day do we got? Make sure I note it on my calendar.
15?
Yep. Is that good with everyone?
Yep.
15s. Yeah, that should be fine.
Oh, man, this isn't even... I'm not getting any power through this thing. I'm trying to charge my phone, but apparently it hasn't been on the charger. I hate when that happens.
Well, on that note, I'll just dip on out of here. Good games.
Yep. Yeah, you can always, hang around our Discord for, other potential game sightings. Somebody says, hey, we need a game, we need another person. Those usually get pulled out occasionally.
Yeah, and always ask Gris for another character sheet so you can have a backup for a backup for a backup when Gris kills them all.
Yeah.
I don't mean to necessarily kill them all, it's just that it happens sometimes that way.
There's a lot somewhere.
Have you told him about my death? My death, then I died next session.
Yeah, he did.
No, we didn't. We didn't tell this one about that.
Oh, didn't we tell him about
No, because I asked him if he'd ever played Curse of Strahd, and I didn't want to give away the opening sequence to Curse of Strahd. But of course, if he doesn't mind, we can tell him.
Yeah, death in Curse of Strahd first session, just death. Just
Yeah.
remember that.
He ran away from a group of ghouls right into a pit. A pit with a bunch of stakes. It impaled himself.
And then the next session, my new character died without getting to more than 5 rooms.
Yeah, got eaten by a trash monster.
No, he died in the very next room. He basically was a prisoner, and then suddenly goes out, trash monster. Blah.
Like, hey guys, I'm here. Okay, bye guys.
Oh lord. Well, I'll catch you guys later. Thanks for having me.
Well, you're
Thanks
welcome.
for coming.
I'm also gonna go. Good night, everyone.
Good night.
I'm
There we go.
looking forward to playing this.
Alright, it's now on my calendar officially. Woo!
It kind of feels like starting with Phil